Hello there. Imagine yourself being in a place and time where life as you know it is filled with struggle, challenges, obstacles, difficultness, ceiling after ceiling. In each and every step you take, there's a ceiling above you trying to suppress you down. Imagine living in that place where goals and dreams are far out in the future, and some of them are not reachable at all. You might already be in that space, and you might not need to imagine. But if you are not there yet, just take a moment, and think of this city. It's a city of struggle, city of difficultness, city of challenges, and you are living in it each and every day. You wake up in your bed and you're like, oh my God, is that dream? Is it that reoccurrence of that dream? If you are, I want to welcome you to Nazareth, the city of Galilee. Today we are talking about something very profound, very interesting. Something that you've had it for years, heard it and celebrated for years. And my attire speak it all. It is Christmas. And I'm talking about a journey about your life. A story of your life. Yes, I'm talking about your story. This story, it is beautifully told first in the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 14. And later Luke providing us a preview of it in a beautiful manner, so as the Gospel of Matthew. So I am going to share with you something very profound. I am very confident that you have never heard of it in this manner before. And today you are going to get something that secret organizations or societies have held it so dearly and have created so many levels and degrees for you, for anyone who enters to be able to know what you are going to hear in a free form. Mystics of the time have aspired and shared this information in a way that we never understood. And I'm very confident churches are not far from that very truth, where they're seeking this truth. But most of them have no understanding, probably. There are some who are getting it regardless, but many people are living below their standard of life. Not because life is difficult, because they don't have this truth that you're about to hear. So hang on tight. If we have never met before, my name is Alpham Shihiri, and I am a life explorer. I explore life through the eyes of the scriptures, and I dig a little bit deeper in neuroscience and other forms of science, as well as psychology, because these are the tools today that are given to us and afford us an opportunity to be able to shape our life or engage with what we call life in a more meaningful manner. If it wasn't for science, guess what? You wouldn't be watching this video, because science, kind of through experiment and exploration, we're able to provide tools and resources that made all of this that I'm doing possible. So we cannot ignore it. We have to learn how to work with it so we can continue to improve our life in a manner that is consistent with what the scripture is teaching us. I want to encourage you. Grab yourself a pen and a piece of paper. If you don't have any of those around you, just get your phone like I do. And guess what? There you will find a notepad. You will find a Word document. And you can start taking notes because you need them in order to gain the information I'm going to share. But don't worry, you can rewatch this video many times. Just save it so that you can come and revisit it. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I just shared this information, break it down, and the friend said, Alpha, I not only just save the video, guess what? I go to sleep every night having it on my earphone, listening to it, because the things that you are saying there are profound. And he wants to have a profound type of experience in his life. So therefore, he's engaging in and eating only profound information in order to bring about profound transformation in his life. I hope you are hungry enough to sit here and enjoy with me this video. So just Relax, chill out, get a piece of paper and a pen. Let's dive it in. Today, we're not talking about your traditional Christmas story that you've heard. The other day, I was talking to my mom, and I'm going to tell you again. And I'm always I'm always enjoying this conversation. I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me about she wasn't able to go to a Christmas service on Christmas Day because she had other obligations and responsibilities, and she needed to take care of some few things. But regardless, she said she was at home, she turned on the TV, and there was one program that she watched that they were talking about. They took through the entire process from Mary in Nazareth in the city of Galilee and Joseph and the story, how they moved from there and all the way to Bethlehem, and Jesus is born in the manger, and all of these things. The wise men come and visit him, and all of that. And she said it was beautifully presented. And so you have heard that story in that manner so many times. And my mom was excited. And then I said, Mom, it is great, but the question I have for you, how does that story have changed your life? If not about just being excited. She's 70-something years old. So I said, look at your life. And can you say that by hearing that story so many times, has your life become better? Because in the scriptures, the realization that we ignore, Paul says, you will know them by their fruit. What type of a fruit you have produced as a result of hearing that story? And maybe you have, and if you have, maybe I might add something into you. But it's a real question we have to ask ourselves in order to grow and become and produce the fruits that we want in life. We cannot keep looking at people and aspire and say, man, look at how that so-and-so have done. And yes, we should celebrate their success. But we should also take an opportunity to look at ourselves and take an account, especially at this time of the year, and say, what have I produced? Can I produce more? Can I be better than this? Do I have to continue to live in Nazareth, in the city of Galilee? And you ask, what does that have to do with anything else? This is where you get your pen. Nazareth symbolizes, or it means a watchtower. It means a few other things, but one of the things named Nazareth means a watchtower. A watchtower, as we know, it is a security post or a security guard post, whatever you want to call it. There are places we'll call a gate, but a gate is to protect people who are coming in. But a watchtower is looking out who's coming, so you can alert people before they arrive there. That's the watchtower. So Nazareth, how does that mean? That's a common understanding of a watchtower. Watching out for people as they're coming in, so you can inform those who are inside that who is coming. While a gatekeeper is the one who controls the move in and out of movement within a particular environment. So there are two different roles. One foresees and informs. The other controls the movement. But so the city of Nazareth symbolizes, so think of a watchtower. You're actually looking out for something that is not yet inside. Who's coming? Our enemies are coming. The enemies are out there, not inside. So you're looking out for something that you don't have yet. That's what Nazareth means. Today, you're sitting at a place in life where you are looking out for something that you do not have it. I will share that. I'll put it in a context so you can understand. A friend of mine the other day, we were having a conversation. And in this conversation, he told me that we've had this conversation early on. And I told him, I said, listen, before you embark in this journey, it's an investment opportunity he was working on. I said, before you embark in this journey, do your due diligence. And due diligence, in a sense, take an account of what it's going to cost you to be able to execute this to the full extent of what you are promising the investors. Not only that, take an account of it. I would add a margin, and maybe 3%, 6%. Look based on your industry. What is an error margin? Unknown things, and add it into that account. Just in case, to be safe. It's better for asking for more than asking for less and fail to deliver. And he was like, oh yeah, I like the advice and everything else. But like many of us, he had this idea or thought or belief system in himself that if he goes and asks for more, it is very unlikely that he will get less, or he won't get at all. So guess what? He cut every corner, kind of squeeze everything so that he can ask as minimum as possible. And he went and asked as minimum as possible. And therefore he got what he had asked for. And he went and implemented. He was very excited. He didn't tell me that that's what he did, but he was very excited. He said, I got the money, man. I'm just so excited and everything else. And he went and implemented. So two things happened. First, costs were the cost of what he thought would be became more than what he had. Not only that, there's an element of cost that was more than what he budgeted for. He made a mistake. And in that mistake, that means he had to redo almost half of the money. Actually, pretty much he had almost finished the money. And now he had to redo everything in order to deliver the promise he had told the investors. And he has no money to do it. So he's sitting in Nazareth, in the city of Galilee, in a place where he's looking out. He came to me and said, can you do this for me? He is looking out for that which he doesn't have. And he's not he needs about $250,000 to finish the last phase. He have tried to go and talk to these investors, and they wanted to kick him out. Said, you came and told us this is what you want. And therefore, you cannot come and ask for more. You haven't even delivered half of what you were supposed to deliver. Because he did not calculate. So he's sitting in Nazareth in the city of Galilee. He's looking out for something that he doesn't have. He's asking. He's out asking for that which he doesn't have. That's Nazareth. But in the city of Galilee, Galilee means circle, roundabout. So you are finding yourself, you are moving out and about in the same area. The struggles are the same. You can't pay the bills. You're looking out for more money so you can meet your bills. You are in Nazareth, the city of Galilee. That is what the author is informing us. And that's where you are. And that's when I started with that message, imagine, because most of us are finding up in the city. Unfortunately, for majority of the people, they get stuck in that area. They cannot find a way out of that city. And this is the place Mary found herself. She's in Nazareth in the city of Galilee. Not only that she's in Nazareth in the city of Galilee, she's a virgin in her prime area, prime time in her life. During that time of the day, for being a woman at that age, there's nothing more important than being married and have kids. That was very, very important because she plays a vital role in preserving family. Her parents will be proud. She will be proud that she's proud of her, that she made her parent proud, and she'll be proud that she made her husband something to admire by others. So she's sitting in this place called Nazareth. She wants to have a child. She wants to have a marriage, but yet she cannot because she's a virgin. And traditions tells her that she cannot. In fact, today we call it she was engaged by Joseph. It was an arranged marriage, but she was engaged. And in that engagement could not be held together. I mean, the engagement, based on the tradition at the time, that engagement, you have to be engaged for a year before you can marry and consummate. So in that case, she was just sitting, it's like, you're like, man, you are told, I was talking to her, so I will bring it into a perspective of today. I was talking to somebody I was introduced to. And this lady, she said she found herself in a predicament. She graduated from law school and she was very ambitious and anxious to go and make a difference. And she was hired in this law firm. Very excited about her work. And right on, she got on the get-go. She delivered within 1 year. She brought more business than anyone have ever done in 2 years period. Not only that she brought new businesses, she grew that firm up over 5%. It's a big firm. No, and she's doing an amazing job. Her clients love her. So at the end of her first year, she was called in by the partners, and they were very gracious in informing her that she have done an amazing job, and they really appreciate each and everything else she. So, my friend, this person I'm talking to, she got called up by the partners, and they were like, "We're very excited for what you're doing. You have a great future in this law firm. We've talked among ourselves as partners, and it was very clear that we want you to continue to do what you're doing. We're going to provide you support." And they said, we're going to bring some junior partners. They're going to work with you to continue to build that which you're already doing. But one thing we have talked about your prospect as a partner. And she's like, so she was excited. She's like, partner conversation. The P word it's called. I said, we're having a P word. That's very, very interesting. They went ahead and say, you know what? Listen, every one of us, as you see here, it took at least 5 years to make a partner. She said, okay. And she's excited. She's like, I'm setting trend. Maybe they're going to tell me that for you, it's only 1 year. That's very good. She says, yeah. So they told her, it took us about 5 years to make partners. So we have been discussing, we want you to make partners. And in our discussions, we thought that it will be great if we can at least consider you after 3 years working here. And she's like, yeah, she's like, okay, that's fine. So she's doing an amazing job. But she finds herself, her experience, it's because of her experience. She just started that law firm. She just came out of law school. I said, so those conditions makes her a virgin, meaning that she does not qualify to become or have that which she wants simply because of that which experience she has. Not because she's incapable of doing it. Not because she doesn't have the skills to deliver. In fact, in her first year, she had demonstrated her skills were sufficient enough to deliver that which others could not. Even after working for all those years there, having the experience they've had. But there, suddenly she's told she cannot have it. So in an essence, she is told, you are a virgin. You cannot conceive that which you would have liked to have. You have a partner. We're going to give you. So she said, it's like saying you have a Joseph here who's going to marry you, but you have to wait until that happens. Why that is different? Joel said, 6:10, let the weak say, I am strong. He didn't say, let the weak say, I will be strong in 3 years. Let those who does not have say, I have. Let those who are hoping for say, I have already have that which I once was hoping for. In Jesus' case, come and say, harvest is now. Do not say the harvest is in 4 months. Today is the day that you need the saving. You need to be saved from your pain. So today is, take an example, you are in hospital. You go there and you are sick and you need an operation, and a major operation need to be done on you. And the doctor said, oh my God, you definitely need this operation. But you have to wait 1 year. Imagine, just think of that. You need this operation, definitely we need to give it to you, but you have to wait for 1 year. That would be unfair. Imagine you are in desperate pain that you need painkiller to alleviate or to ease your pain. And somebody tells you, oh, I can't give you a pill. You have to wait until 3 months. So from now up to 3 months, you have to endure the pain. And that's why this story comes to play. There, Mary was sitting in her ripe age, ready to get married, to bear a child. But she's told, the man has engaged you. We've arranged with the man family. He has engaged you. But because of our traditions, you have to wait for a year. A year that you would have already had the child you wanted to have. There was no reason why they could make the lady a partner, because she had demonstrated what she could. Because at the end of that conversation, she made an assessment of actually starting her own law firm. And therefore, she went and started her own law firm. And it did extremely well. In my conversation, I told her, I said, you have to identify what you want. I kind of walk her through the very thing you're going to understand or hear here. And she applied, she started her law firm, her own law firm. And today she's doing extremely well. But many do not have the capacity to do what this lady did. Many settles, many would have said, okay, I'll wait for 3 years to be a partner and enjoy the benefit partners makes. They have a huge bonus. I mean, she delivered significant amount of work. Actually, she told me at the time we're having a conversation, the business she brought into the firm was over $10 million in value. Over $10 million in value. And the partners, just her supervisors or maybe who was a partner, got a bonus of $500,000 in that year. And guess what bonus she got? 0. She's not a partner. She got her salary, but they didn't give her a bonus. Other lawyers would have gotten a bonus because they put years into the work, but because she was the first, she was just a junior, she could not even get a bonus. 0. Over $10 million of business. So guess what she did? She's like, I'm going to go and make my own $10 million and I'll give myself whatever bonus I want. Just think of that. How sometimes life seems to be unfair. She was sitting, her situation when I was having conversation with her, she was in Nazareth in the city of Galilee, in a position in life where she was looking out for something that she could not have. And she could not have it not because she doesn't have the skills, because of the traditions. Many things we can't have because of laws, because of traditions, because of perception of people. So we are told we cannot have. If you are in that position in life, where circumstances, environment, conditions have said you do not qualify for that which you need to have in life, that which you are craving, hungry for, simply because then you are in Galilee, in that city of Galilee, Nazareth. You are looking out for something that you cannot have, something that you don't have. You are looking out, you are seeking, and you are craving, you are stressing out, you are frustrated. That's the story here. But the story, the beauty of it, the teachers or the writer of the scriptures, they are giving us not only just that picture, they are telling us something more. Despite the fact Mary was a virgin, could not bear a child, and she had to wait until a year, she couldn't bear a child not because her womb was incapable of, is because tradition says she could not. And Joseph, whom would have been more than happy to have sex or make love, consummate with Mary and have a baby, could not either. And you're going to go religious on me and say, because God had planned. I say, hold a second, put a break on your mind. let's have a conversation. I started this conversation by saying we are talking it in a way you've never heard it. And guess what? You gotta let that thoughts out of the door. Because if you keep carrying it forward, you will not get the message that I am about to share with you. Because you are living in the past. This is the future that I'm sharing with you, a future that transforms your life. But if you keep arguing in your mind and what you used to hear, and let that which you used to hear cry out in your noise, make noises in your mind, you will not hear what I'm saying, and therefore you will miss out. God does not sit somewhere on earth, somewhere on the sky. Let's be honest. I just want to clear this. We know today scientists have gone as far as Mars, not probably individual people, but they have sent picture equipment as far as Mars. And as far as they've gone, they haven't seen any kingdom outside the kingdoms that are existing here on earth. Common sense tells me if God was up on the sky, those equipment would have taken pictures of such magnificent kingdom. And that's why Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you. But we will explore that subject later. I just wanted to bring that perspective so that as we're having this conversation, you can tone down the noises of what you are used to hear, so that you can listen to that which you are not used to hear and hopefully understand it. If you really want to change your life, one thing, if I can sit here and prophesy, if there's such a thing, I will tell you that your life will be the same as it was last year. So as this year and the year late following, if you do not take drastic measure to transform your thinking, you will continue to experience. If you've been experiencing an amazing life, guess what? You will always have an amazing life. If struggle, strife, challenges, and difficultness, where you have to always wiggle and toggle with things, if you're not going to be willing to listen to what I'm about to share with you and comprehend it and personifying, meaning applying in your life, you will remain where you are. Life will be the same. And you'll have a new iPhone. You have a new Android phone, whatever that might be. You might have a new Samsung, but still the same struggle that you had before you had the new one will continue to be. Before you buy that new dress, the same struggle will continue to be. That's what will be the case. You will continue to have that which you have, despite the fact you are adapting, adding new things in your life. And what I'm sharing with you is the means to transform your thinking, transforming yourself from inside out. So, we have set the story, the stage of the story that began with this prophetic information, but it wasn't a prophetic about the future. It is prophetic in a sense that it speaks of your life. That you are a virgin, incapable of consummating and bear a son. And you're told you have to wait for a period of time before you can do so. And you're told it have to be in a far distance future. And you are told you just have to hope and maybe it will work. You are told you have to work hard, which you have done for all these years, and yet you have not seen a breakthrough in your life. That's where you're sitting. So the prophetic information comes and said, you can have a son. You can have that which you want, despite the fact that condition says you cannot. I want to bring a personal experience in that conversation. A few years before I did it, about a year ago or so, I was in prison. In prison for something that I shouldn't have been, I would say, because they did not prosecute a lot of people who have done and admitted to have done that which I was accused of. But all be said, it is part of the process. For me, I found myself in prison. And when I found myself in prison, I discovered there was a law that will afford me to get home early. So, as any prisoner, or anybody who is under the law and they want breadth from that law, they will apply that law to give them the relief or the reprieve they are looking for. So quickly, I studied law when I was in prison. So I took a piece of paper. I went and typed the documents and do legal research and put all these things together and presented my argument to the court. Because I presented it to the Bureau of Prison as the first step of doing so. That's what the law requires to be able to release that issue. I told her, I said, here's the law. And you are holding me here illegally based on this law. So I was in a city of Nazareth under that circumstances. I was in Nazareth in the city of Galilee. I was looking out for a reprieve based on a law. And I took the matter and presented to them. I said, according to the law, this is what I've done. And therefore, I meet the qualification the law speaks of. And as a result, I should be released now. And they look and say, you know what? That's not what it says. I said, then what does it say? They couldn't tell me what it says. They said, it doesn't make sense. So the fact that they were the first option to pursue and they don't want to do it, the next step was to go to the court. So I went to the court and said, I have done what the law requires, that I have to first present the matter to the Bureau of Prison. And now the Bureau of Prison said they are not going to actually, they refused to respond to the matter. The conversation I had, it was a verbal conversation with the person. And I said, can you put it in paper? They said no. But the law have a timeline. If you ask Bureau of Prison and the Bureau of Prison does not respond within a particular period of time, then you can take the matter to the court. So I did exactly that. And the court looked at it and say, actually, I did mine and 2 other people to the same court. In that particular court I sent to, those 3 requests were seen by different judges. So 3 different judges looked at them. Mine went to one judge, the other 2 went to 2 other judges. Each one of those 2, who I did exactly that I did for myself, received a response from the judges saying, you have made a legal ground, meaning that your case have merit, have value, and therefore the court will consider by asking the government to respond to the allegations you've made against them. On my judge, he looked and said, you have no merit, and I as a judge have no authority to address an issue that you have no merit to the court. So he denied on the fact or ground that I have no merit. But 2 other judges who looked at the same argument, but just used different names because they are 2 different people than me and different case number than me, their matters were seen having legal ground. We were all from the same prison under the custody of the same organization called Bureau of Prisons. And yet, their matter was seen as meritable, but mine wasn't, from a different judge. So I was in Nazareth, in the city of Galilee. That is the personification of it. I was looking out for something and I was told that I cannot have it. Even though the law said I could, but I was told I could not have it. And I tried again and the response was the same. Knowing what I know today, I did what you're going to learn how to do it. And within a short period of time, the same judge who said no said yes. It's very rare. Judges do not like to consider or reconsider their decisions because then it looks like they were not made based on a thoughtful process. But knowing what I knew, I applied the very technique that you're going to learn that is hidden in this particular story that we call the birth of Christ. So in the midst of that struggle, in the midst of looking out for freedom, despite that the law says I should have it, I received the good news. So we're told Mary got the good news. And the good news came in the form of an angel who told her that she will bear a son, and she should call this son Emmanuel, that God is with us. It's a beautiful experience. It's a beautiful foretold of a story. Like anybody else will be excited about hearing that information. It's a very interesting information. I would be excited about it. And so was Mary. But in that excitement, there was fear. Because tradition says you can't, so how can I do that which tradition says I cannot? And the lady I told you earlier, she found herself in the same situation. She was about to settle with the decision that she received, that she had to wait for 3 years for them to reconsider it. But then she was anxious. She wanted, because she's making significant amount of money, and yet she doesn't get to benefit from it. So there was that anxiousness. She found herself in that position. Tradition says she cannot have it, but deeper there is that desire to be. Today, no matter what is happening in your life, no matter how painful, challenging, and struggling it might seem, there is a deeper need. There is that urge to keep speaking to you. The desire to be that which you are told you cannot be. In fact, stress, anxiety comes as a result of that, where there is a gap between where we are and what we want to have. And that gap can be fearful, can either make us anxious, because like, oh my God, is it going to be yes, is it going to be no? So anxiousness kicks in. And the level of anxiousness can be different. But also, it can cause depression. You are depressed because you don't feel like you're worthy. You feel like you cannot get up. But it's because you want to have it. And the fact that you feel you cannot have it, you are depressed. You become anxious because you're sitting here and it is there and you don't know the outcome. So there's this level of anxiousness and fear comes in, and therefore you veer on the wrong side of anxiousness. And this lady was finding herself in that moment where she was anxious. She didn't know what to do. So she had this desire, which we consider it's a good news, saying you can have it. But yet there was a fear. How can I have it in the midst of all of this? There are things that I want to have in my life myself today, just as it was at the time when I was in prison. I wanted that freedom. But the court had the last say. The Bureau of Prison did not want to address the issue because they don't think I deserve it or I should have it. They did not write the law. They're supposed to apply it. But they want to write it. In some cases, they said, no, we're not going to give it to you. I don't think if these guys, they don't know what they're doing. I said, but they're the ones who are writing the law, giving you guidance of how you should do things. Actually, the same law they wrote that that brought me here, they're the same people, Congress. So why you didn't tell Congress that the law that they wrote that was used by the prosecutor to be able to prosecute me and bring me here, that was wrong as well. Your job is not to decide whether it's right or not, it's to follow the law. That's what the job of this Bureau of Prison is. But in that particular moment, in my case, they decided to rewrite their own by saying you don't qualify, we're not going to give it to you. Then write it down. They refused to write it down because they knew by writing it down, they will contradict themselves from the law. And then I took the case to the judge, and the judge says, you don't have a merit, despite the fact that the other two people I helped, using the same argument, the same cases, we were under the same environment, they were given a go-ahead to proceed. So I'm sitting there looking out for something that I did not have. What do you do in those moments? When you're sitting there, everything else says you cannot have. So you're looking out for that which you don't have and hope that you would have had, the break that you want, the relief you want, the reprieve you want, the peace that you're seeking. All of those things you're looking for, and everything else you're looking around you, it says you cannot have. whether through traditions, through the class of life you have, and so many other things. And you're sitting and wonder, how can I have if everything they're saying I don't? So even when I am telling you that you can have, you're going to say, how is that possible, Alpha? So it is the story told us that when Mary received the news that she was told that she can have it, she's like, how is that possible? She was fearful of it. But you know the story. I'm going to kind of speed it up this pace so that we can get out of this. Anyway, Mary eventually conceded to this desire. And then in that concedement, we are told that Caesar Aurelius, or something to that effect, made a decree that a census must be done and everybody had to return to their hometown. And guess what's the hometown for Joseph? Bethlehem. And there we know the story is very clear that in Bethlehem, so Jesus was born. And Mary had conceived the child through the Holy Ghost, and a child was born in Bethlehem. That is the story. But I've given you the tips and dips on how the story is broken down into your life today. So I'm gonna quickly just give you the tool that I promised to give it to you, knowing that you know the story and you're gonna fit this framework into this very story. And I'm going to take a story of the same lady that I talked about in terms of her legal situation. So not her legal firm, a professional. So she was told she could not have it up for a year. After 3 years, they will assess the situation. There's no guarantee. They will assess the situation after 3 years. So here she's sitting. She has either have a choice to wait for 3 years and continue to make these millions of dollars, because these clients, and according to her, they were long-term clients. So if the first year she made $10 million out, these clients paid this law firm she was working with, guess what? It is very likely they will continue to pay at least minimum $10 million going forward, until they are no longer clients. So she would make the second year $10 million, the third year $10 million, and yet not getting a bonus equivalent to the work she put in. That was her predicament. And she had built this vision or view of lifestyle that she had to live. So now she found herself, she was making a decent amount of income. She found herself, she's in a position where her lifestyles cannot be met by her income. She had to dig deep with credit cards. And not only that she had to dig deep with the credit cards, she already have a significant loan for her schooling. She took student loans, so she owes significant amount of money. Most of you might find in the same situation where you have obligations, responsibilities, and yet you need to do other things. So you are kind of constrained on how much can you do because of the limitations that you have. I am sitting in the same position in many other areas of my life, and I'm applying the same law to keep opening each and every one of those doors. Many have already been opened, and I found a reprieve from those, just as I found a reprieve in the matter of a legal matter when I was in prison. And you want to know more about the story of the prison, there's a video that I talk a lot about that in details. And so I'm just going to I'm referencing that aspect in this conversation. So there this lady is in Nazareth, but yet she had a desire, a deep desire to have the freedom she needs, to earn the money she wants, to live the lifestyle she was dreaming of, and travel the world as she always wanted. Yet she want to work and play, as they call it. And we should be able to enjoy that, because the scriptures that we hold so dear to promise the same. I know the plans I have for you, the plans to prosper you, meaning to bless you, to increase you, and not to harm you. And another scripture says, I've come that you may have life and have it more abundant. So is Jesus what said. So if that is the promise we're given, the promise Abraham was given, we're told we are the heir of that promise. To be an heir is to be a possessor of that which is promised of you. Not possibly to possess it. But whether you're going to exercise the right you possess is a different question. And it is this particular information that teaches us how to exercise the right we possess. When I was in prison, as I told you that story, I had the right to freedom. So the right to exercise that which I possess, which the law gave me, to be released. But yet Bureau of Prison was not willing to do so. They were denying me the right the law gave to me. And today there are many laws that are denying you the right, and the right to exercise that which you want in life. That which will free you from the pain you're experiencing, the struggle you're facing, the challenges that you cannot seem to overcome. But because you've been looking out, then you cannot have. Mary was looking out, so therefore she couldn't have, she had to wait until she heard this good news. And you know that she was looking out, meaning looking out, you're looking at these laws and circumstances and conditions as your savior. Because when she was told that she will bear a child, she was terrified. And she says, how could this be? I am a virgin. So you ask yourself, just like the lady I'm referring to in this particular story, she said, how can I have that which I want? I don't have an experience, Alpha, she told me. I don't have an experience of running a law firm or running any business. How am I going to go and get these customers? She was terrified, but yet she wanted the freedom, the financial success. But she was terrified when she was having a conversation with me and said, you can have it if that's what you want. So we went about breaking it down. And these are the steps that Mary took. Even though she was afraid, but yet she said, I am just a conduit. I am your servant. And that which you allow to happen in me, let it be. What that means, I mean, we can take it into a religious word, but in a new way of conversing today is to say, guess what? Yes, I'm afraid. Yes, I know the law says. I know the circumstance says. I know it is impossible. That's what they say. But am I allowing that which they say to be the truth in me? Or am I going to allow the truth in me to be my truth only? And in the terms of the Mary conversation, Mary said, I allow that which is in me to be the truth. And so she took it as a truth. An angel symbolizes a messenger. Your desire to be better than the best you've ever been is the messenger, is the angel in question here. Where in the book of Deuteronomy, you are told, listen to that angel. Because in the angel, in the nature of the desire, there is God. That is the Spirit of God ordering you to pursue a particular direction in life. So for this lady, she wanted freedom. Freedom to travel the world and work, financial stability. Meaning that to earn the kind of money that she wanted to earn and live the lifestyle that she wanted to live. Her current job at the time could not give her any of those. She earned the money, but she could not exercise the right to enjoy the money she earned because she was not a partner yet, and she had to wait for 3 years. So I have a framework. I call it a 3 I's. And this 3 I's stands for idealize, introduce, and iterate. It's a framework that is scripture grounded, scientific proven, and psychologically truth. And it works each and every time. It's a framework that allows your mind, because your mind works in a pattern. So this framework capitalizes on all these factors in order to allow you to connect spiritually with yourself and the God within you, to being able to bring the transformation you need to bring. You are the Mary, and you have to bear the child. You have to give birth to the idea and the dream you want to have. And here's us where we start. So you know the story, you know what symbols are in that story. And Bethlehem, where they went, Bethlehem, it's a different city, man. Bethlehem first is opposite to Nazareth. It's a city of David, Judah, I'm sorry. So it symbolizes something different. We're going to talk about what it symbolizes. But first, let's take back in this story. So we know the Christmas story. And the first you are sitting there in Nazareth. We've already established that. You have life challenges. You want to have a reprieve. You want to have a break from those challenges. So you are the very virgin, because the environment saying you cannot consummate because you are virgin and have a child. Unless you have a husband. That's what tradition says. Husband is that which is close to you, that can give you that which you are looking for. So you're told and you said, I don't have the connection, so I can't do it. I don't know somebody who can help me with it. I don't have the knowledge. As the lady says, I don't have the skills to run a business. I don't know how I'm going to go and get these customers. And she forgot that the $10 million that she generated for the business is the customer she went and got. They didn't give her the customer. She brought new customer that brought in $10 million. And yet, when we're having a conversation, one of the things that was fearful for her, how she's going to get these customers. Not the ones she already provided to that business, new customers that will sustain her business and afford her the opportunity to live the style that she wants. So we went to work. We started with the first process called idealize. Idealize is just you're taking something that is broken and make it whole. I'm not talking about things. These are psychological ideas, psychological movements, psychological actions, spiritual things. So you're taking an idea in your mind that seems to be jagged, out of order, and make it straight and make it right. And the process is very simple. First, you identify your pain. Your pain is your Nazareth in the city of Galilee, that which you are going through each and every day, that which makes you uncomfortable. That becomes your pain point. Once you identify your pain point, we have to think of what is the city that is a city of home. What is your Bethlehem? What is your Bethlehem? You have to identify Bethlehem. And usually Bethlehem, we're told Nazareth is opposite of Bethlehem. So that which is opposite of your pain point becomes your Bethlehem. That is the city you must go for census to be taken on. Once you have identified your pain point, your Nazareth, a city of Galilee, and identify Bethlehem, you have already completed the first process. The second process now, because that which you have named to be Bethlehem is your ideal. And in the story of Mary and Joseph, we are told she heard the good news. So the opposite of Nazareth, the opposite of your pain, must be good news. Must be something that adds smiles, makes you feel joyful. For me, when I was in prison, being home with my wife and kids was the most joyful thing. Things made me feel warm and fuzzy every time I had that thought. And for this lady, I'm going to use J as a name. When we talked about it, when we identify her Bethlehem is this idea law firm that she started or working for that gives her the flexibility to earn the income or to create the business she wants and have the ability to travel the world as she wanted, and yet feeling financially stable despite in doing all of those. That's her Bethlehem. And every time when we talked about, you could see that she was lighting up. She was feeling warm and fuzzy. There was a smile on her face, as it was for me when I was in prison. As for any other things that I want to pursue, when I idealize that which I idealize, just usually when I think about it, I'm like, wow, it feels nice and warm. It feels nice to have it. This is really good. So once you identify, Mary did something very interesting. But Mary asked, how will this be since I am a virgin? So we talked about when you're saying, I cannot have it. I am this, I am that. It is not possible. But later, she said that the Spirit, first we're told the angel came and told her. But then she admitted and said, I am just a vehicle, use me. That step where you accept that which you want to be, meaning that you said, I can have it, it feels good to have it. It is suddenly you have introduced it. You have personalized the thing itself. You have made it your own. And there are tools that are within your reach, in your possession, you can use to be able to personalize a thing. Actually, Joel said, let the weak say, I am strong. You have to make a first person statement toward that which you want. I am happy. I am successful. I am very wealthy. I am feeling amazing. First person statement. You are personalizing the experience. That's number one. So that's the process called introduce. You are introducing the idea within yourself. You're making Bethlehem your town. And in the scriptures, with the good news she heard, they traveled. So first, she had the good news and accepted it as hers. So you have this desire to be the person you wanted to be, to possess that which you want to possess. You have to accept it and make it personal. It is mine. I am that which I want. Once you do so, because it's all about attention. You're moving attention from not having it, from being in a watchtower city and moving into somewhere else, to being in a possessor of that which you want. And once you make that shift, everything else opens up in your mind. Unless there's a renewal of the mind, nothing changes. As a person thinks, so he think in his heart, so is he. So as you think in your heart, so you become. You have been mesmerized by this idea that you cannot have. You've been mesmerized by this idea you have to wait. You've been mesmerized by this idea that person is bad. That government is not good. Did you know that in the bad government, there are people who are still succeeding? Did you know that in a good government, there are still people who are dying in poverty and sickness? So it is not the government that makes people die in sickness or not. It is the people. And you might argue with me, but that's a fact. It's not a matter of argument. It's a matter of factual element. It's not an emotional thing. It's a matter of reality. And if you want to continue to feel sorry for yourself, then have it, and you will continue to suffer the consequences you are suffering every day. After being in prison, I am not feeling sorry. Guess what? I have to live my life and make it better every single day. I have to be better than the best I was yesterday. And so is tomorrow. Tomorrow I have to be better than the best I am today. And every single day I have to evolve. Paul say, I die every day. It doesn't mean that he dies the death that he goes being buried. It means that who he was dies. To die is like I leave it behind. And then I become a new person every single day. And I am proud to say that using these principles, I am executing that law every single day, getting better and better. Betterness is not a place I gotta be. It is a continuous process. And it gives me joy that I am growing every day. I'm not sitting there lazy as a couch potato. You might like that particular lifestyle and it's good for you, then I give you congratulations and keep doing what you're doing and you will have what you're having. But for those who aspire to transform their lives, you have to get engaged with your life. You have to do things. You gotta stop doing what you've been doing and hoping that things will change. They say that insane. Crazy by all means. And I know you're not an insane person. You just happen to not know the law and so therefore not exercising consistent with that you should in order to experience a transformation in your life. So today, you know how to idealize, how to move, to listen to the good news, to hear that you are that which you want to be. First, you know how to feel and name your pain. Look in the face. Say sometimes we're going. I was talking to somebody the other day, just the same lady. I'll keep the same story. And as we're having a conversation, this person listed. I mean, the lady said, "Okay, I'm having a problem. I'm concerning about this. I'm concerning about that. I'm concerning about this." Mhm. These are the things that the lady told me that she's concerning about. She have to make her she have to travel. She have to make the money and everything else. So in that particular process, and that's what usually happens, we have so many things that we list out as issues, and we get frustrated in the process. So with her, we went this simple process. We got to name this Nazareth. We have to identify it. What is actually the pain? She said, "I have this pain. I mean, I'm struggling. If I stay here, I'm going to feel suffocated because I'm working so hard and I'm making very little." That's number one. That's her struggle. And then I cannot become a partner and reap and enjoy the fruit of my labor. And because I'm working so hard, making so little, guess what? I cannot travel as I would love to, while I'm still piling debt for 3 years before I can make partners. I'll have so much debt by the time I made 3 years, and now I have to, the money I'm making, no matter how much it is, it'll be going to pay the debt. So therefore, I'm not where I want to be. That's her pain. But yet she was afraid to start her law firm because how she's going to get the customers. That's all these things. So she listed all these things. And by looking at all those, she was confused, frustrated. So we went through a simple process. I said, okay, if we pull one plug, all these things are pain. But if we pull one plug called Nazareth, that something that will solve all of these, what would that be? Financial stability. Yes, clients, it's important. But if she can have even one client who can pay all her bills, then she have the financial stability. Because it's a financial stability that will afford her to travel. She doesn't have to incur debt and everything else. So she was looking for financial stability. So she identified her Bethlehem. And we went through the journey of how to move from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Joseph was aware of Mary's pregnancy. So Mary was aware of her pregnancy. But they told no one, meaning that it is a movement in secret. The only place that is secret is in your mind. So you have to move mentally from not being to being the person you want to. And that movement is called a movement. You're traveling back to Bethlehem. And so for her, she had to visualize herself having financial stability. Every time there was an anxiousness of bills need to be paid, she cannot travel. She had to tone down that noise and thought of herself that she had the financial stability. And she felt great about it. She visualizing herself traveling the world because she had financial stability. She visualized that she have plenty of time to live her life and enjoy life as it is because she have financial stability. She live life serving clients and choose which clients she want to serve because she have financial stability. So she created this visualization and she lived in this world of thinking, vivid to those particular nature. And in time, she started feeling ease to move away. And actually, she was inspired. She acted out of inspiration and decided to start her law firm. One day, she just told her boss, said, "Thank you very much. I'm gone." The next day, when she actually started working from her home, and she got a call from a client from nowhere. The guy called and say, "I've heard of you from so and so and so," and she's like, "I don't even know who he was referring to." But that became the first client. That client paid her rent for the building that she ended up having an office. She paid for all her minimum expenses she had. And she did a very good job with that client. That client stayed to this day. Another client came, and her life today is quite different. She's making in the millions of dollars now. She's not in the $10 million she did before, but millions of dollars, which is way more than what she was taking home from her job. she have the financial freedom she was looking for. She pays her work hours in a manner that is consistent with her interest. She's been traveling the world. I mean, sometimes I look at she posts pictures. She's in this country, in that country, in that place, in that place. And yet she have time to serve her clients because she have the freedom to choose who will be her client. Very interesting concept. But she's been able to achieve that which she was told she had to wait for 3 years. And even if she would wait for 3 years, she could not have the flexibility to choose her client. But here she has, within 1 year of making a decision that most of us have chose not to, fearful of, but because we didn't have the resources, everything else shifted in her world. She bare the Son. You know, the Son is called God with us. And we know this Son as Jesus Christ, who is the Savior of this world, who is saving your life. Let me ask you a question. Don't be religious, but be practical. This is the young lady, finished out of school, fresh from school, graduate from law school. And she have a significant, her debt is like buying a house. It's about $300 and something thousand. The debt she incurred pursuing law. About $300,000. I don't know how much it costs to pay for law school, but throughout, from her bachelor degree all the way to she did her master's and had another PhD program that she did. So all of that is about $300,000 she accumulated in debt. And they started her salary with, I think it was $90 something thousand. And they had a package that they gave her. She'll get $10,000. A bonus, you want to call it, whatever the case. So she was about 105. She had to move. She moved into this apartment. You know, she's a lawyer now. She had to create this image. And suddenly, her expenses were so much that that money was not enough to meet her bills. And she told she have to wait for 3 years. That means she's have to continue it. And for her argument was, it is the type of lifestyles and where she is and the places and associations she have built have afforded her to acquire these customers. If she have to downgrade her life, it will be difficult for her to. That's how she saw it. That's how her justification was. So she's in this particular point in life, and she, in essence, she had to either wait for 3 years and continue to accumulate the debt. So she is in pain. She is in struggle. But today I'm telling you of this lady, her life is different. She have everything she wanted, the freedom to travel, the financial flexibility, the customer, the work hours, and all of that are there. And she's living her best life. So can you say that she have been saved from that which she was to that which she is? To be saved is to be pulled or taken from one point to another. So if I'm sitting here and I'm thirsty and I cannot have water, I'm in desperate, dire need of water. And somebody shows up there and offer me water. Guess what? I am saved from the thirsty that was consuming me. That's what it is. So religion, you've been religious and say, oh, I'm saved, I'm going to go to heaven and everything else. Have you ever seen that heaven? God is the God of the living, not the dead. So if you are dead and buried underground, that's the topic of tomorrow. Keep thinking that way. It's up to you. I can't change. But for those who want to change their lives, those who want to eat meat, not the one who want to drink milk. Those who want to drink milk, keep drinking the milk you want. I'm telling you, my friend, life is beautiful. It is wasteful of time to keep thinking that you need to wave a magic wand like Harry Potter and things will change in your life. You have to get engaged. Saying in the name of Jesus, you can say it 1,000,000 times. It will not change your life. If you argue with me, look at your life and tell me how many times you have said that and your life has been changed, unless when you said it, you believed on something else. which means you got engaged in your mind. You engaged with that which you believe. You just didn't say it like abracadabra and things change. And that's why I'm sharing with you these tools and resources. You got to follow the process. You got to idealize as it is written in the scriptures. The story there, Mary heard the news. She was terrified, but she was living in a place of lack. She did not have the son she would have liked to be. She was not married. She was not living with her husband. She wanted to be living with him. There was nothing wrong with her living with her husband. It was nothing wrong for them to have kids. It's just a tradition. There was nothing wrong for that law firm to make that young girl a partner. There was nothing wrong. She had demonstrated for 1 year. She had the skills and the ability to do that many have not been able to do for 5 years. And yet, because of their traditions, and there's nothing wrong with traditions. They are there to keep things in order, to create structure within an environment. But we shouldn't use them. You should not use them as an excuse for not being the person you want to be. I should not use them to be as a person I wanted to be. Years early when I started my life, me and my wife, we were broke. And as a broke people, guess what? We learn about government assistance. So you go in, and we had gotten some. Actually, when we had our first child, I was the only one working because it was too costly to take this child to school, to a daycare. So the idea is, I told my wife, stay at home, let me work. I'll make whatever I can need to make so that we can be able to raise this child in a way that we could in an environment that is loving until he's able to go to a daycare or preschool. So eventually, no matter what I did, because we were just starting life, I was still in college, it wasn't enough. So we ended up getting what we call WIC. I don't know what it stands for, WIC, I think that's what it is, which afforded us where my wife will use those WIC voucher those days to get particular type of food. They will tell you what food you can qualify for. So we'll buy milk and so it was helpful. But also it was constraining in a sense that in order for you to continue to benefit with that program, you have to be within a particular income bracket. So many people find themselves struggle. They say, if I move out of this bracket, I'm going to miss this benefit. And they choose to remain in the bracket of the benefit. That is law. That is traditions. That is customary. So they end up living life within the bracket, which is inconsistent with their desire. There are those who have decided to live within the bracket by telling the government, I'm in the bracket, but they're outside the bracket in terms of their income. So they lie. And eventually the law catch up with them and they get in trouble. But for us, and me and my wife, when we got to there, and I said, this is the bridge. This is just a cushion we're having. I'm going to work harder. And eventually I worked harder. I got paid more, and we moved out of the bracket and we couldn't qualify, and we let that go. But we continue to evolve. Life is like that. If we allow the circumstances and traditions, they are sometimes necessary to cushion us, to help us navigate, see things. So they are very necessary in our society. I'm not minimizing laws. I'm not downplaying these traditions. I'm just saying they are there for a reason. But let their reason stand and let yours stand as well. As the lady, the reason that law firm have that because they wanted to build a particular character. The people have to grow in a particular way and everything else. And it's okay for those who are looking to grow in that environment. It's perfect, and many of them will follow that path. But she had a bigger desire. She was willing to listen to her desire to be and pursue that and move to Bethlehem, and she bare herself a son, a savior. That very thing that will save you from not having it. That is Christ. We are told the Word became flesh. So you have to visualizing. We're talking about introduction. We have to visualize your personal. Why that is necessary? You are personalizing the experience to be yours. Neuroscience tells us your brain cannot tell the difference. When you assume and imagine yourself to be, your brain cannot tell the difference. It makes you behave as if you are that person. And if it makes me behave as if I'm that person, guess what? Then I'm that person. Eventually, I find myself in a world consistent with the person I imagine myself to be. And that is your Bethlehem, and your child is born. And that experience have saved you from the experience of not having. So every time you bear birth to an experience that is new, that new experience is your Savior, the Spirit of Christ. The Word has become flesh in your world, and you are living a life of freedom. Dear friend, my time has come to an end. There's much I would like to say in this conversation in order to make this point clear. But one thing before I go, I want to add is the last piece, which is iterate. We are told in the scripture when they arrived in Bethlehem, they stayed there until a baby was born. Often many people fail to see their prayers answers because they pray for one thing, but when they look at their circumstances, they start being terrified by their circumstances. They come to an agreement with those people who tell them it's impossible, you cannot do, you cannot achieve. So you once were in Bethlehem but left. But the story tells us they stayed in Bethlehem until they bear a child, meaning that you have to use this process called iterate. You have to keep reminding yourself you are that which you have idealized. You have to continue to visualizing. So in the scripture they said, those who stand to the end will be saved. And another scripture said, persist in your prayer. Meaning that you do not cease, you continue to see yourself. And I have what I call a formula that I use. It's 469. So I repeat that 369. I repeat it 3 times in the morning, 6 times during afternoon hours, and 9 times before going to sleep, or night hours. More of that conversation and how it works, I have put together a 3-day workshop that is unlocking your potential to become that which you want to be using this Christmas story, but in more detail for 3 days. So more information are broken down, examples are provided, moment of reflection and exercise you will have to exercise that so that you can actually shape and create a path from Nazareth to Bethlehem. You will journey. I am guaranteeing you, if you could click the link below or up on my profile, you will follow this path and you will find yourself in Bethlehem, in this place where you want to be, where your vision is manifested, where you can start living life consistent with your interest. This is not a dream, my friend. It's a reality. It's a reality that you can have if you choose to. But if you're comfortable with where you are, I'll say stay there. Why move? Why change? Because if what you're doing is working for you, I think you're just fine. So, that being said, we're told while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. Luke 2:6. While they were there. The last part is you have to stay there. You have to remember to be there. You have to consistently be there. And a baby will be born. A word, that which you imagine, that which you desired, will become flesh. That, my friend, is the story of the birth of a Savior. That which saves you each and every single day. Unfortunately, the same process is applicable to create havoc in your life. So today, whatever you're seeing in your life, you have given birth out of yourself. You can blame everybody else for their mistakes, for what they've done to you, for what they said to you, and all of that is well and good for your soul. But if I have to be that person who I consider myself to be, a very good friend to you, I'll tell you the truth. There's nothing happened to you that did not come from you. All comes from heaven. Everything we have comes from heaven, and heaven is within you. Your mind is the very heaven in question, described in the scriptures, because the Spirit of God lives within you. So the kingdom of heaven is within you. So it is from within that all things become. You can blame everybody else. Yes, when I went to prison, there are people who lied before me, people who connived before me, those who, whatever they did. But in my video, where I'm talking in detail about it, I created that prison long before I found myself in prison. I imprisoned myself out of my ignorance. In the moment of ignorance, I created prison for myself. And when I was in prison, I did this exercise. I interviewed over 100 prisoners because I wanted to measure whether this idea is true. And each and every one of them, in different ways, they created prison before they acted in a way that made them go to prison. So the action that followed was just a product of the prison they created long ago. I'll give you a quick story. There was a guy that is very funny. We used to laugh a lot and joke all the time. I forgot his name. I call him P. But P used to be very interesting. P told me in our conversation we were having, he said, he's a retired military. He was in the army. He was retired. So he's just living his life. His wife was a teacher and they had some investment property. So he was making good money. It was those days before weed was legal. So P used to like to travel, to fly to Jamaica. He would go to Jamaica maybe 3 times a month. And he will spend a day or 2, 3 days. He will go and just to smoke weed. And he will smoke a lot because he loved to smoke weed. He had his own issues in his mind. So smoking was kind of a thing that he could leave. And he didn't want to smoke that type of amount of weed in US because it was illegal. So when he always comes back, he likes to hang out with kids in the street. And, the kids in the street will be like, hey, P, what's up, OG? They call him OG or OGP, whatever the case. They said, OGP, what's up? We didn't see you for almost a few days. He's like, man, you know how I do? I was in the big house, meaning that I was in prison. Federal prison to per se. Said I was in a big house. I go there and, they tell me all this kind of BS because I'm an OG. I came out. They're like, man, OG. And he will tell them story. And as he tells them story of prison, he puts himself mentally in this prison as he tells the story and the things that he had to do. And he did this for quite some time. So he was in prison long before he did what he did to find himself in prison. And therefore, he found himself in prison. That is how we find ourselves in our problems, in our environment, in our circumstances. We can blame the economy. We can blame the president. We can blame, yes, they make policies, they make decisions, they sign certain things. But in the midst of all those signatures and policies and everything as is done, there are people who are thriving, are living life to the best. And we call them exceptional. So you are exceptional, my friend. To start your journey, I hope what I shared with you was sufficient enough for you to act. But if you are like me, sometimes I need a little bit more guidance, a little bit more tools. It took me 9 years to discover and understand these things to this magnitude and afford me to apply it every day because I didn't have anybody to guide me. But I have organized information in a manner that is meaningful and learnable based on whatever learning skills. There are reflection moments. Actually, so there's a moment where each module, there is a reflective moment. You're going to reflect upon it. And then there's an exercise. You have to exercise because my goal is not just to bombard you with your information. It's to actually help you transform yourself to become better than the best you've ever been. So that being said, I want to say thank you very much for taking time to watch. And I hope I provided you with information. As I promised, I gave you the 3 tools, the 3 pieces of tools that you can use to transform your life. And I will repeat it very quick is you have to idealize that which you want in life. Out of that painful you're having, you have to introduce that which you've idealized into your life, in your mind by personalizing it, which means you become the very thing that you want to be as a story of a butterfly. The butterfly looked at the fire and said that fire looks so beautifully. And the butterfly said, I want to be like the fire. But in order for the butterfly to become like the fire, the butterfly had to fly into the fire, and the fire consumed the butterfly, and the butterfly had become like a fire. That means you have to immerse yourself from this idea that you are that which you want to be. You have to think from that point of view. You have to feel from that point of view. You have to see yourself from that point of view, and you have to see the world from that point of view. You have become the very thing. And once you become the very thing, you have to remain there. And in due time, you will bear forth a child who you will say, God is with us, that which saves you. I hope that makes sense, my friend. And I hope you take action by clicking the link below. But above all, your comments are of a great value. I spent some time to make this video. I didn't just make it because I woke up and made it. I had to do some research, add some few things, and organize information that they can flow and make meaningful to you, make sense to you. So your comments will be great valued. Your thumbs up is great. And do that ring, so anytime I post a new video, you'll be able to get access to that. But above that, I hope you click the link so you can get the benefit of all that it offers. That course is a 3-day program, and each and every day provides you with different information, that information that allows you to be able to take your journey to the next level. Share this video, be kind enough, share to your friends, your groups, and encourage and tell them about it. Because I try to kind of providing this information constantly, and if there's a way that you would like to see this information provided, or you have a specific question to this, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will be more than happy to provide you with an answer. Until then, I'll